Welcome to the We Shine Well podcast, where I have real conversations with thought leaders in wellness to help you live your most vibrant, aligned, and purposeful life. I'm your host, Zoe Kelsey, founder of We Shine Well. Here, we share honest stories, gems of wisdom, and insight to spark clarity and guide your next right step, so you can shine brighter from the inside out. Now let's dive in. Today, I'm joined by Brooke Harris, Chief Executive Oracle, CEO of Good Milk, and a guide for those navigating profound transformation in both life and business. In our conversation, we focus on Brooke's channeled energetic forecast for 2026, what's dissolving, what's emerging, and how we can prepare for the next era through trust, embodiment, and aligned action. We also explore Brooke's personal awakening, what it's like to tap into other dimensions of awareness, and how to strengthen your intuitive muscle in everyday decision making. This episode is an invitation to trust what you feel, lead from alignment, and step into the future with intention. Let's dive in. Hi, Brooke. Thank you so much for being here today. As we were just chatting through before this, I feel like we've known each other for so long in a way, and so much has evolved and panned out with those like inklings and breadcrumbs. And I'm just so grateful for you as a mentor, guide, supporter, and friend, part of We Shine Well from day one.
My gosh, what a pleasure and joy it has been to be along the journey, witness and support you. And we've known each other for lifetimes. It's
Yeah.
it's certainly been more than this one.
Yeah. Well, I also just want to kick off too, as just because there's so much upon your journey in various dimensions that as a CEO in two means, as a Chief Executive Oracle and CEO of Good Milk, you live in both worlds of high-level business leadership and deep spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
What was your own awakening journey like? How has it changed you, and how do you balance those kind of very right and left brain?
Yeah. I mean, we'll start with the ending for just a quick moment. And where I am now and the place that I am and operate from every day is like there's no separation. Like really my only title is Chief Executive Oracle of all things, of my businesses, of my own life, of this family and this household that I'm running. And it all comes back. It's all intertwined. And I think the more that I bring my whole self to everything, the better and the bigger it gets and the more magnetic it is. But you're right, so many of us, and certainly I for a long time was guilty of this. We have the separation, we compartmentalize, right? I'm a CEO and I'm kind of secretly into all this spiritual stuff. Like I literally had a coming out of the closet a few years ago when I was like, oh, by the way, I'm a psychic. And I had to think about how sharing that information with people would impact my business relationships and how people viewed me in business. But my business has been both the catalyst for my forgetting, I would say. Like I, as a young kid, knew a lot. I had a lot of wisdom. I had a lot of knowledge. I had access to the truest version of myself, my soul. I had access to guides. And maybe I didn't have the language because I grew up, in a small farm town in New York State. Certainly there was no one talking about mysticism and spirituality in the way that I'm talking about it now there. But I had this knowing in a time and place where I was very unsafe. My childhood was quite traumatic. But I had this deep knowing that everything is going to be okay. And it's going to be more than okay. I'm going to live a great life. And I remember as a young kid even saying to myself, again, maybe not in this language, but knowing that this is a chapter. This is a short time in my life. And things are going to be good. I knew like I said, I lived in New York State, in the middle of nowhere. I hadn't really seen any of the world. I knew that I was going to live in California for most of my life. I knew that I was going to be happy in love. I knew that I was going to be successful in a career that I had never seen, back
Mm-hmm.
where I'm from. It's, not that there's these professions are great, but you are a farmer, you're a teacher, you're the mailman. Like, I knew none of
Mm-hmm.
those were going to be my profession.
Yeah.
And so I had this deep knowing and this real comfort with myself and in the knowing. And really, when I started at the start of my business, not so much, because at the start, you're kind of solo doing everything. Like,
Yeah.
you have to have, any of us who have started a business, like, there's something there, right? There's, call it magic, call it craziness. Like, we already have something that is allows us to,
You're entering into one of the biggest life awakenings and experiences too.
which we're clueless about, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
just
Yep.
we're just taking the next steps and
Mm-hmm.
following something.
Yep.
So I would say I was very awake when I entered into my business. I'm very lucky. I had found my soulmate at 24. Like, I started my business journey around 27. Like, I had a very good grasp on this the larger energy of life. And as I got more into business, especially as I did my first fundraise, brought on
Mm-hmm.
investors, had a lot of outside voices,
Yeah.
I started to lose myself.
Mm-hmm.
I started to allow in all kinds of new conditioning, all kinds of new stories. There were a lot of situations in the business that mirrored, not in as traumatic of a way, but in an energetic way, mirrored things from my childhood and
Mm.
stories and conditionings that I was bringing in from my childhood, and just made them, give an example, like the energy of, like, I have something to prove. Like, I have to prove myself is a big energy that I've like, weaned myself off of. But when you have people investing in you and betting on you and you're the founder,
Mm-hmm.
there is a lot of language around, like, we're our money's on you. We're counting on you. We love your resiliency. And you start to wear those things as a badge. And you also start to get buried in the logical world, right?
Yeah.
There's spreadsheets, there's
Mm.
board meetings, there's statistics, numbers, sales goals, all this stuff that I would say I became very operational, and I'm very proud of it. I was like, okay, I can operate and execute. But that's not where the magic is. Right? And
Mm.
that's not what our value is as founders. We are here to bring the magic and hold the vision. And so I would say I got buried in logic, operations,
Mm-hmm.
stories, new conditioning, old patterns coming up. And the universe was so lovely and loving and tried to show me in some very subtle ways. And
Mm-hmm.
then tried to show me in bigger ways, like, I got Lyme disease. So my daughter, who's now 4, a little over 4, was a happy surprise. But I got pregnant with her the same day I was starting the biggest fundraise I had done to date. And so, hand in hand, going through my first ever pregnancy and fundraising at the same time. During that fundraise, at 7.5 months pregnant, my lead investor, the day they were supposed to wire money and sign the final paperwork, found out I was pregnant and came to me and wanted to drop the valuation by 3 million. And the valuation, for those, I'm sure everyone listening understands, but that $3 million, giving my company $3 million less of a value, impacts me. It completely would change
Yeah.
my ownership. It was a very heartbreaking moment. I ended up walking away from them at 7.5 months pregnant when we desperately needed to close
Because he
this
found out you
money.
were pregnant.
Yes.
Wow. Way to feel devalued.
Dude, I was like, what year is it? Like, what is
Oh my
happening?
gosh.
Talk about a sign, all these things. And I'm like, but I'm resilient. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
resilient. Going through having my daughter, I closed the money on a Friday, closed
Mm-hmm.
that round of funding on a Friday, had my daughter on Sunday, 2 days later.
Gosh.
And again, still this prove it energy of, like, okay, now I've had a kid. I got to prove it to all these new investors that I haven't changed, that I'm still going to work the same amount. I still have the same work ethic. I'm going to show up as well. well, anyone who's been through the birth portal, like, which it is a portal into another dimension,
Mm,
knows that you've changed, and you've changed for the better in so many ways. But I spent that first year of, my postpartum clawing
yeah.
back to try and still that prove it energy. Let me prove myself to these
Mhm.
people. Launched another fundraise. Again, our biggest one to date, and what ended up and has been our last fundraise. And that fundraise is what broke me. I mean, I
Mm,
was already, sorry, I was so burnt out. I was a literal crazy person. Like, had I seen myself from the outside, I would be like, this chick is crazy. She can't even see. She's caught in this cyclone. I mean, I could feel the cyclone. Like, I got my upper lip would twitch out of the middle of nowhere. I had lumps in my armpits. I thought I had a heart somewhere along this path. Like, I thought I had a heart problem, and ended up getting my heart checked, and
your
getting
body was
every
like, "This is not right."
oh yes, and I think this is so relatable to so many women that are probably listening to this, and hopefully
Mhm.
in smaller degrees. And part of the message is like, hey, can you listen earlier on so that you're not getting to this
Yeah.
point where your body's literally shutting down and fighting you, and the universe is trying to send you messages in every way. And this last fundraise, we had an investor who was like the final tipping point. We took him on. I knew we shouldn't. The minute I met him,
Mm,
energetically, I knew that I shouldn't take him on as an investor. But he was a big chunk. He was like 750K, and it was the last little bit that we needed to close the entire round. It was a priced round, so you have to have all the money in before you'll get even a dollar of it. I was already not taking pay. Two people in my C-suite weren't taking pay, like,
mhm,
had paused their pay because we were like definitely in a desperate situation. And I was just like, I have to take this dude's money.
mhm,
Well, he was he was the final straw on the camel's back, and that dude broke me so quickly after we closed his money.
mhm,
He just turned into and he was just this typical narcissist VC, like almost like it was like watching a movie, and it was like if you wrote up the perfect VC villain, like it would be
mhm.
this guy, like the berating, the craziness, the threatening. He tried to take over a board seat, tried to overthrow me, and like get rid of my voting rights. Like, it was so insane
Oh
that
my god.
I was literally an animal trapped in a cage. Like, felt like I was fighting for
Mm,
my life. Like, I would be sitting at my desk, and if you like came up behind me, it would scare the shit out of me. Like, every little thing, I was so on edge, so jumpy.
with heart
Meanwhile,
palpitations and your lip quivering at the
yeah,
same
yes.
time.
And I'm breastfeeding a child who wouldn't take a bottle. My daughter didn't take a bottle until she was almost a year old, like
Mhm.
full-time breastfeeding,
Yeah.
like crazy town shit, you
Yeah.
know? And I finally got my way out of that situation by threatening to leave the company, and no one around me was being reasonable.
Yeah.
The only thing I could do was threaten to leave the company, which no one wanted, and threaten to leave the company, or he steps away. He's not allowed. I set boundaries. He's not allowed to email me. He's not allowed to come to any meetings. Like, he has to send a
That's
representative.
bad.
Like,
Oh no.
yes. So that was the final like moment of like down. I'm just down now. I'm down in the bottom of
Mhm.
the pit. I felt like I would open my eyes every day and just be like, who am I? What am I
Mhm.
doing? How did I
Mhm.
think? I started to resent my business big time.
Mhm.
How did I think plant-based milk was my purpose in life? Like,
Mhm.
I don't want to be around these people. They're crazy. Everyone else also in the aftermath, I was like, you guys, how freaking crazy was that? And they're like, oh, it was just a game he was playing. And this is kind of how it goes. And I remember one of the women who's a VC also, she was like, oh, I've had people hit me and throw stuff at me. And
Gosh.
yes, dude. And I was like, this is not a world that I want to be a part of. This is not aligned with how I want to operate in the world, see the world, how I want to think things are okay. but where do I go from here? And I was just numb. And when you can't, I think we tie ourselves so much to our business and purpose of our business, at least early days,
Mhm.
that I wasn't aligned with that anymore, but I didn't know what my purpose was or who I
Mhm.
was or how I'm Brooke Harris, the CEO of Good Milk. Here's our values. Here's our mission. Here's our purpose. Here's what we're
Mhm.
doing in the world. When I removed myself and was like no longer that, I was like, but who am I? Like that's how I've shown up in the world for so long.
Mhm.
And that's when it was like, okay, I have no choice but to pull myself out of this hole. And it was a very long process. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want
Mhm.
to scare anyone. I mean, when you're in it, every day seems long, but it was a real act of me showing the F up. Like I showed up.
Mhm.
I did all the things that I could had in my toolbox that I could think to do to day by day kind of start to work myself out of that hole. And like, you know, it was the hardest time of my life, certainly
Mhm.
of my adult life, but I have so much gratitude for it. I am now in a place where I have wholeness. I have unconditional love for myself. I have
Mhm.
peace and freedom every single day. I have this beautiful relationship with my own wisdom, my soul, my purpose. I have the ability to access that information for other people and help them and support them. Like
Mhm.
I'm so grateful. Like the logical, the operational, that world, like thank God it all came along and buried me so that I could pull myself out and remember my own magic and remember the magic of being a human and being here and experiencing all this.
Mhm. Wow, that's powerful and has you've been through so much, and I think I've known bits and pieces but not necessarily the full story. So it's just powerful to see you and know you where you are today on the other side of it. And it sounds like you had such a powerful intuition like growing up, and you knew that. And I always think about like as we get older, it's even more unbecoming who we aren't to become who we truly are. And it sounds like you're getting back to how can you think of your intuition as like a strategic advantage of just like in business, but also like showing up as yourself in life for your daughter, for your
Yes.
husband, relationships, yourself.
I love that question. And it is, especially as women, it is our birthright. It is our job to be in touch with our intuition. To me, intuition is actually, it is it's a additional sense, right? Just as we like don't think about, I mean, we do breath work and stuff, but in theory, our body breathes on its own, right? You know, we touch things, we have these senses that are just become natural to us. And in some of them we have to develop them a bit, but that's what intuition is and should be. It's there. It's right there for all of us. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, and I see it with my daughter.
Mhm.
She's good. She's got her intuition. She trusts her intuition.
Mhm.
There's no faulting, questioning it. It's this we've forgotten it or told that it's not important or that it doesn't matter or in so many different ways, not to listen to that, to trust others who have more experience. Like there's no one I trust more than myself. No
Mhm.
one,
Mhm.
and it's fine to gather information and get insights in different ways. But at the end of the day, even with your business, and I had this for a very long time with my business, and even in the hard parts with a lot of stuff, a lot of the hard moments and the bigger things, I still had this where I was like, no one has the perspective on this that I do. No one has the
Mhm.
information on this like I do, even from a logical perspective with our businesses, right? No one's in it day to day. No one's living and breathing it. No one, you could go to your board, you could go to your investors and get advice, but they're thinking about it for that hour. You're thinking about it every
Mhm.
single second of the day. So even from a logical perspective, it's true, but certainly from an intuitive perspective, it's true. Like no one has better information on the next step, whatever it is you're looking for, than you do. And that is just that's just in us. And it's like more about reactivating. And it's not even reactivating because it's there. It's
Yeah.
there, and we'll trust it on, no matter how evolved or unevolved you are, right? You'll trust it on certain things, right?
Mhm.
And they can be very little. Like you'll get that gut feeling and not do that, or you'll just like interact with someone, you're like, they're not my people, right? But that's your
Mhm.
intuition. There's a lot of little things that happen that are
Yeah.
our intuition. And so it's more about just giving ourselves permission and starting to listen and exercise that muscle, that tool, that gift that we have. Um, because it's my number one. It's my number one sense.
Yeah. And like if we're tuned out of it, it sounds like as you what you were saying, if somebody's listening and they're like, I don't even know what my intuition is or how to tune into it. It as you mentioned, it sounds like how can you just create even silence and space
Yes.
to tune into what that is? What else would you share there?
My gosh, it's so simple. And I'm curious. I know it's something you've been working on too. So I want to throw that back to your question back to you in a second. But silence and space are my
Yeah.
number one recommendations. And then just ask. You have a question, just ask. Just like throw it out there. Say it out loud, say it in your head, and see what comes back. Like the answer is right there. It's gonna
Mhm.
it's gonna come back as a practice of listening to it and believing it. And so sometimes I'll tell clients of mine, like, get a set of oracle cards or a set of tarot cards, whatever resonates with you, and ask questions and then pull the cards. Because
Mhm.
it takes the logical mind out of it a little bit, right? You're like, oh, I just pulled a card. What's the card say? And damn, doesn't every time the
Yeah.
card have
Yeah.
some real clarity and information for us? But those cards, those cards aren't magic. You bought those cards off Amazon. Like like if Jeff Bezos had magic, like he'd be even more wealthy than he is. But the magic is the connection between the information coming through and your ability to hear it. And so do whatever it
Mhm.
takes to get, you can ask a question even and just journal and see what comes out.
Mhm.
I'm sure a lot of people listening journal already every day.
Mhm.
Whatever tools you can use to start to get the logical brain out of the way and start to open that connection to the heart and to your soul, to your knowing. Um, whatever works for you, do that. But space and silence are absolutely the must. And even if
Mhm.
you're just sitting there, information will come through.
Yeah. I love what you said about the magic is the connection between us and listening to what comes through too.
Yeah,
Because
it
it's so
is
simple, but it's like life changing.
it is life changing, and really all of this is so simple. The further along you are on we'll call it the awakening journey, the more you realize, like, oh shit, there's really just a few universal truths and it's all really simple. I love tools in the beginning too, because like I said, I think the hardest part is getting those stories, getting the logical brain, getting the conditioning out of the way. So we need tools like astrology, human design,
Mhm.
tarot, oracle cards, journaling,
Yeah.
all those things. Um, and there's many others out there. We need those tools in the beginning, but you don't need them forever. And I think that's where I see a lot of people in the spiritual world get stuck, where they become obsessed with something like astrology or obsessed with something like human design. And then they start to give their power over to that. This
Mhm.
journey is about you. It's about you being in your power, about you knowing that you have all the answers, you have all the information. I have a good friend who's an astrologer, and he and I can get I know a little bit about astrology, but like certainly he's like so pro and so great, and he's deep in human design and numerology,
Mhm.
and he's just studied for years and has all this information, but we can get the exact same answers to a question. He's going
Mhm.
it through a much more logical and like a way that feels like it's more proven and like grounded and solid to him. And
Mhm.
I'm tapping into my way, which is like, hey, the answer's right there. I'm tapping into the energy of it. And we get the same
Mhm.
exact answers every single time.
Mhm. That's powerful. And we were talking before this even about breath work too. And it goes back to creating that space and like our body truly knows. And personally, what's come through for me is just like this is an undeniable yes of like what my body, soul know to be true just because I'm creating this time and space to tune in. And
Yes.
I mean, I'm always even asking, like, God, what do you want me to know? Like, highest self, what do you want me to know? And there's always something that comes through. Maybe it's small, or maybe it's like, this is your future daughter's name. I don't know what'll happen.
That's the fun too. And I love your energy behind it of like having it's we're supposed to have fun with it, right? Like we are here, it's all magic. We're here experiencing having this human experience. And it's like, it's not that serious.
Mhm,
We're meant to be here and experience things. I had this experience once in a meditation where I went to, we'll call it ground zero, like
mhm,
where we come from. I went to the
mhm,
source and I
mhm,
experienced the source, and it was really beautiful, but it was really confusing because I'm used to this physical experience, right? And once I came out of it, I had even more downloads, but it gave me so much appreciation for the physical experience that we're having. Like it was so peaceful, right? It was so peaceful. It was so loving. It was almost like an energy that you couldn't put language to, but it wasn't a place where I got to hug my daughter, or I
yep,
got to smell flowers, or I got to see squirrels running. You know, I have this like big window here where the squirrels are, I swear to God, crazy here. Like I didn't, it was like, there was none of that. It was still beautiful and this great energy, but it gave me such an appreciation. I was like, it is only here in these human bodies that we get to experience certain things, hugs from each other. The one thing that my like happiest place is hugging my daughter,
mhm,
having a hug and kiss for my daughter. And there is nothing that I would give up. All the drama, all the trauma, the roller coaster of life, I would do it 100 times over just to make sure that I could still hug and kiss her, you know?
mhm, mhm,
So I think that a lot of the a lot of the message and the realization on the awakening journey is like, just enjoy it.
mhm.
Enjoy life. Like how can you take emotion out of the ups and downs and just witness them in a way where they all feel miraculous and interesting, and you are a witness, you're experiencing it, but you're also a witness to it.
Yeah. And just like in that vein, and we've kind of been circling around it, but when did you kind of know that you had psychic gifts?
Yes. It has come up many times in life, right? And it's like you can dismiss it as coincidences or just like, you know, a feeling that you're paying attention to. And it really took other people telling me for me to really be like, okay, I'm going to believe this and dig into it. Um, I had years ago, probably almost a decade ago, I had learned about the Akashic records. I had had my Akashic records read, and I kind of fell in love with it and decided to do a class. Now, back then, 10 years ago, it was in person classes, right? Which are so rare now. And it was like, went in LA to the back of this like crystal shop, like it was like a 4 day long, like in a row, like a holiday weekend class. And we'd go there for a few hours. And I remember my first experience opening someone else's Akashic records in that class. I didn't know this person from the next, knew absolutely nothing about her, and opened her records, and I just saw so much information about her, for her, shared it with her. We're both sobbing, crying. And I come
Mhm,
out of it and we're just like, how? How do you, how do I know that? And I had to have enough of those. And then I didn't practice on other people for a long time. I just did it with myself.
mhm.
Um,
And for
and
someone who isn't aware, can you explain what Akashic records are?
Yes, absolutely. So the Akashic records, for me, there's all kinds of different layers of information that you can tap into, at least how I see things. There's, you know, our guides, there's the guides of others, there's um our soul, there's the Akashic records, which are, you know, they call them like the lords of the Akashic records, but essentially the Akashic records are a database that
Mhm,
has every possibility for every soul in every lifetime. And you can access it. You access it through a prayer. Anyone can do it. Again, this is a part of like, I could say the prayer and have one experience because I believe in the information. I know how to read energy. Someone else could say the prayer and be like, cool, nothing's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an art to it, but you have access to this information. And for me, originally, I would use it for myself. And
Mm-hmm.
99% of the time I was asking this stuff for the business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but now I use it mostly for other people. I don't have to me, there's like, it's almost like if you could imagine like rings of energy around our physical bodies. The Akashic records are kind of like the furthest one out. So it's like a little bit of a journey to go there and gather information. When people are
Mm-hmm.
asking the big questions, that's where I like to go into the Akashic records. And as an interpreter, it is an interesting experience because, like I said, it's every possibility in every lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of analyzing and interpreting of the information that you bring back to the vessel, to the human, that's to the soul that's asking that question based on what their soul, how their soul chimes in, how their guides chime in, where they're at, the energy that they have at that moment in their life. But it's a really interesting experience and it's really fun um, to gather information. And I had a girlfriend who would always bother me to open her Akashic records, and she was going through something.
Mm-hmm.
We were in Sedona on a girls' trip. She was going through a pretty big life moment, and I was like, I had gotten into tarot and other things just for myself, as one does on their own, crawling out of the depths journey. And so I was like, cool, I'll open your Akashic records. And again, it was like, holy
Mm-hmm.
shit, you know? And my first experience with her was not this perfect translation because it was more like, it was literally me being like, holy shit, this is what your guides look like. I can see them. This is this guide's voice. Like, this is what, this is and I don't do that with people anymore. Like, it doesn't matter what your guides look like but it was just like this, whoa. And for me, I see things, I hear things, and I know things. So it's all the information coming in at once.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and with that, I had a trusted friend who's a well-known psychic, Kate Von Horn, and she kept telling me, "You're psychic, you're psychic, you're psychic." And I was like, I think I might be psychic. And she's like, yeah, no shit. And so she did a little mentoring with me and we just moved through our experience. Like, she was such a beautiful guide and we were already so connected energetically that she helped me move through it really quickly and just be like, this is undeniable. And then I started sharing it with others, with other friends, and every experience, every time. So every time I open someone's records or do a reading for them, I cry by myself after because I'm just like, this is incredible. This is so incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I'm not special. I'm not special.
Mm-hmm.
I just put in the work, right? I put in the
Yeah.
work to remember the wisdom and how to access it. That's
Mm-hmm.
all.
Yeah. If you read somebody's Akashic records, say today on a certain topic, if you read them tomorrow on the same topic, will they change?
It totally depends, right? There's free will involved in
Mm-hmm.
everything, right? And so my goal in a reading is to guide them and empower them, not necessarily say like step by step, here's what you should do,
Mm-hmm.
because free will is a part of the journey and a part of expanding them. And so yes and no. I love, I have some clients that do more than one reading for, and we check in every few months, or I mentor and we're on a longer journey. And there's always these bigger nuggets of truth that are kind of inevitable, we'll
Mm-hmm.
say, or just true for them in their highest timeline. If you're showing up to talk to an oracle, and certainly if you're showing up more than once and you're staying with me, you're going to meet your highest timeline, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's plenty in between that can happen, but there's usually, and I like to kind of look at it, you know, I try not to go past a year. Like, I can usually see very long term with people, but I try not to go past a year's time when I'm sharing information. And there's like usually like about 3 or 4 big nuggets that I can see for someone in a year that are most likely inevitable unless they go off the rails. and completely decide not to show up or go in the opposite
No.
direction. But hey, if you are willing to show up, these bigger things are inevitable. And now there's some stuff in between. There might be some lessons that we don't see that you still need to learn, or you might take a little bit of a turn that's like not fully on the most aligned path. That's totally fine. There's like turns and pivots and adjustments along the way, but there's usually a couple big truths that are like inevitably true.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we even had like a full reading last year, and I mean, we connect here and there. It's interesting to me that you're like, once I tap into somebody's Akashic records, like I can just channel. And it's just so, but we were talking before this about how like I couldn't even have imagined where my life could have been like a year ago today. But even like all the work that I needed to do of the unraveling of all of the stories before leaving corporate was exactly what I needed to do. And I ended up leaving, and you're like, you won't even recognize your life. And I don't. I wouldn't have if I was myself a year ago today.
Yes. Yes. And it's so fun and it's so hard to be the guide in that moment, because we were talking when you were in your corporate job. It was so clear to me that you were going to
Mm-hmm.
leave and everything was going to be, that was going to be one of the catalysts for you jumping into this higher timeline, that your next timeline that was meant for you. The next timeline was always there. It's just a matter of like, when are you going to do it? And that's some of the frustrating thing for me. It's like, I get to see it. People, and I do this, it's for myself too. It's like, it's so scary and hard to take the leap. But I can see all you have to do is step into it, like step across this. All you have to do is that you're in a new timeline. Everything's going to be okay. But me, I
Mm-hmm.
could say that to you 100 times. It doesn't
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
mean you're going to believe it, right? Like you have to go on your own journey still, to get the proof points to believe like, okay, no, everything is going to be okay. And actually, like, look around me. It's better than I could even imagine. And I say that
Mm-hmm.
so often to people. I'm like, it is better than you can even imagine, because I can see it. I can see the beauty. I can see what's coming for them. But when you're in this place where you haven't expanded to even think about some of that stuff, like, of course you don't know,
Mm-hmm.
what you know, but there's a
Mm-hmm.
calling,
Mm-hmm.
right? You had a calling, you knew what you knew, but you also knew you couldn't keep going the way
Yep.
you were going. And
Mm-hmm.
you could have, Zoe, you could have, and you are always going to get to the next chapter, the next level, we'll call it. And it's a matter of how quickly you want to do it. You luckily took action and did it quickly. Had you not done that, and let's say we're a year later and you're still asking the same question, trying to figure out, your health would be impacted right now.
Mm-hmm.
You would probably be feeling so much more stressed. Like, the universe would just send more things to be like, hey, just a reminder, like, this is not the
Mm-hmm.
level you're meant to be stuck at.
Yeah.
So that's where there's a gift for me. And when people come to me, I can kind of give them permission to take that next step
Mm-hmm.
and let
Yep.
them hopefully feel safe and empowered to take that next step sooner than if they were on their own, kind of just working through their logical brain trying to make the decision.
Yeah, it's like a permission slip. And it's like we talk about timeline hopping of like, how can you learn the lesson and make the decision sooner than in alignment with your highest self?
Yeah. Yes. That's what all we're doing is like, how do we just be the most aligned version of ourselves is the
Mm-hmm.
journey.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the energetic forecast for this year. So there's this 2027 paradigm shift that so many people are talking about. From your perspective, what can we expect to experience or witness in this next year, and how can we best prepare for the inevitable shifts and changes?
Yes, I love this. I feel like so many people in spirituality have just skipped this year because everyone can't wait for 2027, right? And it's also like, what is in the world of energetics, what is time?
Mm-hmm.
So this is where it gets like interesting and confusing. It's like, okay, so is it January 1st, 2027? Because
Mm-hmm.
the calendar year is a pretty patriarchal system that doesn't really align with the energetic world. But we'll separate that. And this year, I think we all feel it. Like you feel it. I know we were talking before, like there is a, there's something really exciting about this
Mhm.
year. And but it's a very different energy from before. And so we can talk kind of collectively first. And then I also channeled some messages specific for the We Shine Well community and for your listeners. Collectively on a larger scale, we are tipping things into a different energy. We're tipping toward a more feminine energy. It
Mhm.
is like I feel like even people who aren't on their spiritual journey this year are going to start to wake up to their intuition. They're going to start to wake up to energy, and it's just going to start to become so deniable. One of my predictions, I think telepathy by the end of this
Mhm.
year, I think telepathy is going to be something that starts to feel a little bit more
Mhm.
mainstream and a little bit more
Mhm.
normal, which I'm really excited about. For some reason, I don't know why that's coming through as like the first thing that we're going to access because it's so crazy, but it's imagine if we could be telepathic, what a gift it would be in
Mhm.
our political, the way we make political decisions, the way we, the people that we surround ourselves with. So I feel us leaning into, as a collective, leaning into the feminine energy. We're talking about, everyone's talking about it being like the fire horse year.
Mhm.
And I think some of the energy that's being brought to that when you hear fire horse is like this big masculine momentum, like horsepower, fire, burn it down, like, and that doesn't feel true for me. It actually
Mhm.
feels like the opposite side of the energy. Like when I think about horses, I think about they're such, if you've ever spent time with a horse or looked into a horse's eyes, like there's a wisdom there. There's
Mhm.
a gentleness, there's a certainty. They know who they are and their position in the world. There's loving, like kindness. There's like
Mhm.
worlds. They have
Mhm.
worlds and dimensions and of ancient wisdom in them. And they're a really calming, sweet force. When I think about a
Mhm.
fire, it's comforting. It's a moment to slow down and to tap in and to be in that like silence and to like look into something that can reflect back and give us answers back.
Mhm.
So that's the horse fire energy that I'm feeling, something that's a bit more nurturing about us, tapping into our wisdom, tapping into slowing down, tapping into ease and flow. Like that does not mean there's not momentum and shit's not happening and we're not accomplishing things. It's the feminine way of accomplishing things. It's leading with energy over logic and push and fight.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and I think it's just starting to naturally happen. Obviously, there we can be much more conscious about it too and move into it faster and easier. But I think it's going to be some really surprising some of the people in our worlds that we would not consider spiritual or connected or anything that we see start to like wake up to these things even more.
Mhm.
And now I know your audience and the people in our community they're awake, right? They've been awake. They've been awake for a while. So I'm just going to pull over my notebook real quick because I challenged some very specific things for the We Shine Well collective for the year. So the main energy that I'm getting for this group is like priestess, divine energy, divine feminine energy, like owning that energy of like femininity is power, and it's
Mhm.
powerful. And it actually, for those of us who are women, especially,
Yeah.
it is more powerful than being in our masculine, right? Like being in our businesses a lot of times forces us to be in our masculine because those are the systems that's how the systems work. That's how we fit in. That's how things operate right now. It's not working. I mean, it works to a
Mhm.
certain degree, right? It's certainly not working for us as women. And to start to ask ourselves, is there actually more power in doing this in a way that's more aligned to me, in a way that feels more intuitive, in a way that feels more feminine?
Mhm.
Forget the systems.
Yeah.
Can I do this in a different way and prove to myself and to others like this system's not working? I'm going to create my own.
Yeah.
That's where our power is right now.
Mhm.
Also bringing back the sacredness of life. Kind of like
Mm,
we were talking about a little bit earlier, like feeling like life is a beautiful, sacred thing,
mhm,
appreciating all the little parts of it. Like, as founders, as CEOs, as mothers, we're often
mhm,
moving so, so quickly. I think this year is about asking ourselves, like, what can we do to simplify? What can we do to bring more peace and presence into our lives so that we remember how beautiful this journey is and we get to enjoy it?
yeah,
Um,
and it sounds like too, like, how can we reclaim our sovereignty in a way?
yes, yes,
And yeah.
our sovereignty, but also like the the energy that we hold as the feminine, as the
Mhm,
intuitive ones, as the keepers of energy. Like, it is I see it as my job to manage the energy of my business, to manage the energy of my family, to check in and hold things in that energetic space. So how can we
mhm,
start to do that more? Like, just as anyone listening, I'm sure, sat down at the beginning of the year and said, what do I want my year to look like? What's the energy of the year for me? Like, what are my goals? You should be doing that with your business too. You should just sit down and say, what is the energy of my business this year? And
mhm,
it's really time for that separation for a lot of us
mhm,
too. Like, think
yeah,
about, for the ladies listening, think about how tied you've been to your business, how much your worth is tied into the worth of your business, how much you being a part of your business drives it. And how can you start to create some separation? Your business is ready to have and be in its own energy. Like, my business is so ready for me to go on maternity leave. My my business is like, chick, we need a couple month break from you, okay? Like,
mhm,
we're ready for
yeah,
some new, and I have some like outside salespeople coming in to help during that time, and some new outside energy. And my business is like, yeah, hell yeah, like, we're ready for that
mm,
energy. Come, we'll miss you, come back, but like, my business is ready for a break from my energy, and that feels really good, you know?
yeah, and so, like, in that vein, what does 2026 ask of us in terms of, like, being, overdoing, and how do we both surrender and take the aligned action?
Yeah. Stop, 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 stop. Stop overdoing. Being is a really interesting word, right? And really, at the end of the day, I think that that is one of the number one, if not the only thing that we all want permission to do, is to be, to just be, to just be ourselves, to be in this human experience. And I think it's part of the journey is like understanding what that means. Um, but leaning into the feminine, being more present. So there's three real pieces of instruction that the universe gave me to share for this group,
Mhm,
which were: lean into presence,
mhm,
trust and make space for your intuition. It's really, really important to build that relationship this year. And like and I think those are the right words, building the relationship, because it's there. It's right
mhm,
there. Like, I know we can all feel it. I know anyone hearing this is like, yes, yes, it is. And like, just start to build the relationship and to lean into everything you're doing with flow and grace. Know that everything can be handled with ease and flow and grace. And that is the divine feminine. That is the feminine way. Like, we can do this shit. We can do life with our arms tied behind our backs when we tap into our actual gifts, right?
mhm,
And we can run our businesses with flow and grace. Like, yes, we've heard all these stories. It has to be hard. You have to grind. You have to work 80 hours. Like, no, no, we don't. Like, how can we bring flow and grace to each of those beliefs, each of those situations, every situation we're in for work? And it's like, it can be so much easier.
mhm. What so that makes me think about I don't mean to cut your flow up, but what fears do you anticipate coming up collectively in 2026 from this place, and how can we have grace instead of resistance?
Yeah. Well, there's always fear when you're doing something different, right? And I
Mhm,
think that's part of it, is like, can you weed out the outside voices? And again, come back to trusting your own voice. And it's going to be a practice in surrender because we're not going to have all the answers, right? We don't have a spreadsheet. There's not an energetic spreadsheet that we can check in with. Like, what is your truth? What is your truth, or what are your few truths for this year, for yourself, for your business? The things that I had said before, like, you can tap into and know. Like, I know, everything's going to be okay. We'll just say that. Like, I know I can go on maternity leave. Everything's going to be okay in the business. How? I don't exactly know yet because the business hasn't been without me before, right? But I know that truth. So if I can hold
Mhm.
that truth, and then as I figure out the how, just
Mhm.
trust, lean into what feels like the most flow and ease in this moment to get me to that outcome that I know is
Mhm.
inevitable. There's one really important message that I want to share for this group,
Mhm.
just kind of about the overall, we'll call it the
Mhm.
mission right now, right? Or the mission for this year. And it's a higher mission than your business or your day to day. It is this group's mission for the collective. It is time to restore your own harmony and balance so that you can help the world move forward in harmony and balance.
Mm.
And when you ask what's coming for us, that's what's coming for us, right? Our future is harmony, balance, peace in the world. Hopefully we see it in our lifetime. And the more of us that are collectively aware of that and working toward it, raising our own vibration, the quicker it becomes a reality in the collective. So I think if all the language that I've used to describe how this year looks and feels, if you take anything away, it's harmony and balance. Can you start to operate in harmony and balance? And I know there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of digging, there's a lot of conditioning that has to
Mhm.
come undone to do that. But can you work toward harmony and balance, not only for yourself, but for the sake of the entire world?
Mhm. Yeah. No, I think that's powerful. And so many people have talked about too, we're moving from having like systems are going to fall away and dissolve more so, and it's going to be more about the individual over the collective, but the individual's also supporting the collective. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but what are your thoughts there?
Well, one of the universal truths is that we are all one. We're all
Mhm.
one. We're all connected. So anything that we can do for ourselves to get ourselves in balance, to act more like the light, to be more aligned, it has a huge ripple effect. Systems, you can understand why systems were put in place, right? A lot of our systems are old and were put in place in a very different time where the world and humanity needed different things. We have evolved as humanity. We have evolved energetically. I don't know how much, Zoe, you've interacted with any small children recently, but you see these newer generations. I witness my daughter and her friends, or my friends' babies and children, and it's like our energetics are shifting. They're coming to earth as completely different energetic beings than our
Mhm.
generation was, and in a really beautiful, enlightened, like much brighter. Like you can I look at our friend Brooke Ansley.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen pictures of her son. You look at her son
Yeah,
and
he's
you're
so
like,
cute.
that is light. That is light. And I see that in so many of these kids coming to earth. And so part of our job is to, as right now, I think our generations, and I'm a millennial, but I'll say like the kind of generations padding the millennial and the generations like right around us. Part of our job is to just get shit out of the way for these light beings who are already automatically raising the vibration of the earth and are going to move us
Mhm.
into a new timeline, a new energetic field. Like, so it's not pretty right now, but we see systems being demolished, right? I don't agree on a human level, on a moral level, on a this hurts my heart level with so many of the things happening
Mhm.
in the world right now. But from a higher perspective, you can see the systems being broken down and torn down. And our job is to focus on ourselves individually. There's nothing we can do to stop it or fix it. And that doesn't mean tune out or don't have empathy or, don't help your neighbor or whatever. That doesn't mean to just keep to yourself, but
Mhm.
it's inevitable. Like anyone who knows anything about tarot, it's the Tower card. Like it's all burning, it's all going to burn down. That
Mhm.
is a truth that is inevitable. I'm trying to deliver that in an uplifting way. I know that doesn't sound great. Um, it's just a truth so that we can clear the way, get rid of these systems, get rid of the things that aren't working, get rid of the patriarchy, move into the feminine, move into peace, move into these new lighter energies that are actually what we were meant to be experiencing here on the planet and as humans. So I don't know if that answered your question, but it's a crazy ass time that we are living through. And we're in it as humans, right? And it is what it is. And there's a lot of pain and heartbreak. And our job right now is to focus on ourselves, focus on being the light, raising our vibration, because the time is coming when there will be less chaos, when this will all be over and it will have burnt down and we'll be walking through the ashes and we'll get to help build and create something much bigger and much more beautiful.
When everything burns down, what will the world look like?
Hmm. Well, that's where human free will comes in, right? And it's the most likely answer. And wow, what a wild question to ask. The most likely answer that I see is if I'm optimistic, which I am, and if I believe in humanity, which I do, and the true nature and spirit and every soul I've ever, uh, that's not true. 90% of the souls that I've witnessed are really beautiful and light. And so that gives me a ton of hope that this burning it down is to open up this more utopian type of life where we understand the truth that we are not separate, we are all one, where we understand this truth that's very uncomfortable for us to understand that we are God. You're God, I'm God, each of us are God. We are the source of light, where we just have a much more communal, collective experience where there's not black and white, good or bad, where we're here to experience the things that we were meant to experience as humans, but not the roller coaster of it, not the hardships. Like we are here to, again, like we just appreciate everything that's on this planet. We respect and appreciate each other. It's much more peaceful and it's led by the feminine and it's led by energetics. We can tap into our main our main senses, our energy and understanding energy. And when you can tap into energy and understand energy, there's no misunderstanding. There's no right or wrong. There's no, good and bad. Like it's a whole different frequency. And it's really beautiful. And I think it's how we were meant to be. And I think all of this has been necessary, just like your journey, my journey, everyone listening, you've had your journey, you've had your catalyst, you've had your burn it down moments.
Mhm.
When you get on the other side, you're like, oh, I feel whole. I have peace. I have freedom,
Mhm.
whatever the languages you use, that's coming on a collective scale. So it's beautiful how we get to experience it in these individual experiences and individual moments. Um,
Mhm.
and the more of us that get on the other side and have that unconditional love, that knowing that we are all connected, that wholeness, like the better the chances for that outcome for all of us.
Mhm. Yeah. I even think about like how like horses have blinders to go forward, but like taking off our blinders in this year of
Yes.
the horse to tap into what is that harmony, that peace? What are our gifts within us to be able to like create that magic of who are we, how are we tuning into what comes through from like, and then how do we live that out in the world to like support the greater good, collective collaboration, joy, peace, all the things.
And just by being it yourself, like, yes, there's many of us that have these dual missions of sharing and teaching and helping others, but just by it's enough to just be and experience that within yourself. Think of think of the experience you've had, the permission it gives others to do the same. Just that is enough and will have a ripple effect. And the energy you bring into a room, all of that is enough. If you want to have an additional mission and you feel like you want to teach or help or support or be a part of creating the new systems, great. But I want to take the pressure off people too. Like, first things first,
Mm-hmm.
get yourself there.
Mm-hmm. In this shift, how can we discern what is a yes and what is a no for us?
Oh, well, that the most simplest and probably very frustrating answer is you already know.
Mm-hmm.
You already know. And I get so many people that come to me with questions that, oh, do you have a yes or no, or this way or that way, which path is right? And it's like, well, you're asking, and just by you asking, I know you already know the answer. And it is, again, like, are you willing to trust yourself? Are you willing to believe that you are the most powerful person in your life? That the most correct, right, powerful thing you can do is trust your own wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you already know. If you need support, go to a trusted spiritual advisor, an oracle, whatever. But most of the time when I'm giving people sharing information, they already know. Most sessions, people come out and they'll be like, yeah, I kind of knew that, or I kind of felt that. I'm like, yeah, no shit. I know you
Yeah.
did. Like, you already knew. And hopefully the interaction with me is just strengthening and reinforcing that,
Mm-hmm.
that knowing,
Yep.
but you could skip all that and just know, just start to trust it. And you don't have to pay hundreds of dollars. I've spent 6 figures on my wellness spiritual journey, like you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to do that. And something that we talked about in the We Shine Well portal, this hack that I love, and it's like, it's, a spiritual shortcut, is believing in miracles, waking up every
Mm-hmm.
day and saying, I'm ready to receive miracles, seeing the
Mm-hmm.
tiny miracles around you, reflecting on the miracles from the day before. Like, being in the energy of miracles skips you ahead so many
Mm-hmm.
levels. You don't have to do all the grinding, dirty work. Like, you're in the energy and the vibration of miracles. And that is so magnetic itself.
Mm-hmm. It makes me think about when we shift the way we see things, the things we see start to change, because then we'll start to see the miracles all around us.
Well, yeah, if you wake up and you are like, I am ready to receive miracles today, miracles will come. I promise you. I promise you, every single day. And it might not always be the, like, oh, I landed this huge customer miracle, but it'll be little tiny things. Like, for
Mm-hmm.
example, that miraculous is my word of the year, and miracles. And it's an intention I set every day. And, like, little things, like yesterday we got a letter back from our mortgage provider that our mortgage got reduced by $200 a month, and we got like an $800 refund check. I was like, what?
I'll take it.
When does this ever happen? Like, that is so crazy, for no reason, and I was like, that's a miracle. Miracles
Mm-hmm.
are this morning I was eating. So, being pregnant, I eat multiple breakfasts a day. And my first my first breakfast is always this Lovebird chocolate cereal. And I forgot to make almond milk last night, but I had this rose milk that I had made for my daughter. And so I'm sitting there eating chocolate cereal with rose milk first thing
Mm-hmm.
in the morning. And I was like, this is so luxurious. Like, what a freaking miracle this moment is. I'm a pregnant lady. My daughter's sleeping. I have a moment to myself, and I am eating chocolate cereal with rose milk. Like, life is good,
Yep, yep, there you go. Well, we were talking before this too, and that your son might have something to share. Is there anything he wants to share with us?
Thank you. Let me tap in. So, for those of you who don't know, I am 7.5 months pregnant, with a little boy that I've known was in our orbit for quite a while, for probably the last 3 years or so. Not that I was ready to have another kid necessarily when I found out he was there. And so I've been saying for years, like, okay, there's a little boy that's wants to come through, you know, working to get my husband and I on board. And I've had so many friends be like, sure, it's a boy. Like, you can't just pick what the sex of your kid is. And I'm like, I know it's a boy. when we got the results back, even when I was pregnant, I was like, okay, this is and that was part of me like convincing my husband too. I was like, oh, don't you, we have an amazing little girl. Like, don't you want a boy? And he's like, you can't guarantee that it's going to be a boy. I'm like, bro, it's a boy. I promise you. The other part that I'm interested in seeing is I think that it might be the soul of our dog who passed that's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Whole other rabbit hole in conversation. Our dog that we had for almost 18 years as a family.
Mm-hmm.
But we get the results back there in an envelope. I actually was sick when we got them back. And so I was like, we're going to wait until my husband was so antsy to open them. I was like, I'm not doing this when I'm sick. Plus I already know the answer,
Yeah.
like I'm not eager. Like, and
He's like,
so
then why do you need to wait?
I know we had the card literally in our house for 2 or 3 days before I was like, okay, I feel good enough that we can like sit down and do this properly and enjoy the moment. And of course we open it up and it says, it's a boy.
Oh my gosh.
So that was a really beautiful moment. But this dude, I mean, Zoe, it's so wild carrying around 2 souls.
Mm-hmm.
It is a wild experience. And I think we give so little attention to the energetics of the gestation experience, of the pregnancy experience. And this dude has come through in readings that I've had with clients with the most loving, most beautiful words. And I'm slowing down because he is sharing something. And yeah, okay. He has a message for the group, and he's such a little love bug. And it's very simple. He just wants people to know. And I think maybe this is part of his like mission in the world. He wants you to know you are so loved.
Mm,
You are so loved, and you are so loved just for being you. Don't have to do anything.
thank you.
Hmm.
So sweet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, as we wrap up, is there one message or reminder you want listeners to carry with them as they step forward in 2026?
Yes. I think that, you, it's you. You have the answers, you have the power, you have the wisdom. It's
Mm-hmm.
you. It's there. It's you. You don't need anyone else. You don't need any crazy tools. You don't need any approval. Like you have the wisdom, and all you have to do is give yourself permission to tap in and to hear it and to trust it.
Mm-hmm. Powerful. And where can listeners connect with you, learn from you, explore your work even further?
Yes. So I have a podcast. It's called Expanders Club Podcast. It has a little bit of wellness in there, but it's mostly a spiritual podcast. We have great guests from the We Shine Well community, lots of guests from different walks of life. We talk spirituality on every level, even get into fun things like aliens and other dimensions. That is a place to get to know me the best. I am on social media at _Brooke_Harris. Zoe, I think you'd be proud of me. I'm going back on today, but I've been off social media for 25 days.
Wow, good for you.
And yeah, thank you. It has totally changed. It's changed my life, and brought so much peace. So I've really reevaluated and reassessed my relationship with that, and feeling excited about barely moving forward on social media any longer. And I also have a Substack called A Modern Oracle. So, but the podcast and for now Instagram are probably the best ways to connect with me.
Amazing. Well, we'll share all of those things in the show notes. And thank you so much for taking the time to be here and share your wisdom, your son's wisdom, and all that's coming through. So excited to share this with the world.
Thank you for your beautiful questions and holding space for some directions that I know felt a little wild and weird. But hopefully everyone gets something out of this and it helps them on their journey.
Of course. Loved it all. Thank you for tuning in to the We Shine Well podcast. If today's conversation lit something up in you, I'd love for you to share it with a friend, leave us a review, and dive deeper each week by subscribing to our Substack in the show notes to interact with guests and discover more resources to expand you. Until next time, keep trusting your right next step and keep shining, my friend.